Hi everyone, in today's video we are going to be talking about my experience with delusions and particularly what my top 10 delusions are. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick definition about what delusions are. So basically they are a fixed false belief that is not grounded in reality. So basically, it's something that a person really truly believes, but it's kind of an irrational belief that is not grounded in reality and that really has no basis in reality. There are four most common types of delusions, and these range from persecutory delusions to grandiose delusions, somatic delusions, and erotomanic delusions. So to kind of briefly explain what these are, grandiose delusions are when you have an inflated perception of yourself, or your ego is overinflated or that kind of thing. You think you're God or whatever the grandiose delusion may be. Persecutory delusions are more along the lines of believing that someone is out to get you or that you are being harmed in some way. Persecutory in nature. Somatic delusions are when you believe that some sort of body function or part, either internal or external, is abnormal in some way, or it kind of goes along the lines of hypochondriacism, where you think that something is wrong with you. And lastly, erotomanic delusions are when you believe that someone else is in love with you or infatuated with you in some way. If you're new here, my name is Lauren and I make videos about what it's like to live with schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia. If you want to see more videos from us, make sure to subscribe. And also, if you are interested in helping support the creation of these videos, please check out the link to our Patreon page. Once you become a patron, you also gain access to our private Discord community where we offer peer support through various means such as weekly peer support groups. It is a wonderful community that we are so excited to be building, and if this is of interest to you, please make sure to check out our Patreon page. So before I get into my top 10 delusions that I experience, I want to kind of give a little bit of an analogy for what delusions feel like. And so I was kind of talking with Rob about this, and we came up with the concept of, everyone, when you're young, when you're a child, has this kind of irrational fear of the basement, the dark, the boogeyman under your bed or in the closet or whatnot. And, it can range in magnitude in terms of fully believing that there is a monster in your basement and you run up the stairs because you think it's going to grab your ankles or something. And fully believing that. Or sometimes it ranges to the other end where you know that there's no monster down there. You know it's irrational, but you still believe it and feel it within your body. You still get this anxious flood of energy that runs through you because you believe it on some level, even if you might know that it's irrational. And so that's kind of the range in which I have experienced delusions anyway, where sometimes I just have no idea that it's a delusional thought and it's just something I believe and something I know to be true, even if maybe it isn't true. Or sometimes it's more along the lines of, I know that this is irrational, but I still believe it and am fearful or have some sort of reaction to it. Okay, so let's get into my top 10 delusions. So the first one is one that I have mentioned previously on the channel, and that is around mirrors. I get a lot of paranoia, I guess, when it comes to mirrors, and I kind of spiral into this delusional train of thought that there are cameras in the mirrors around me. And so I've kind of devised this little trick that I've had comments on our videos in the past saying that it actually is a real trick. But it's something that I do kind of just to comfort myself. So I put my fingernail up to the mirror, and if there's a space between my finger and the reflection finger, then all good. There's no camera in there. But if there's no space or if it's distorted at all, I allow myself to kind of spiral through paranoia and delusion and just kind of have my guard up about that mirror. And this delusion kind of goes a little bit farther than this too, where, I just hung up a mirror in our living room the other day with my husband, Rob. And, I was part of the whole process of putting the mirror up onto the wall. So I knew there was nothing behind it. I knew there was no camera in it. But still, when it was up there and I was sitting in the living room, I felt really uneasy being around this new mirror that I hadn't checked and having delusional thought that there was a camera in there or that someone was watching us or watching me. And it was hard. And when I first moved in with Rob too, I had this delusion that he had cameras around the house. And so I guess this delusion kind of stems from this idea, this core idea of people watching me or people observing me that I don't know about or that I don't want to be. So my next delusion is that of more of the persecutory delusion, where I believe that people are following me, and typically it's police that I think are following me, whether that's to arrest me or to bring me to the hospital. I don't know. I just have this irrational fear around this. I am constantly aware of, when I'm driving, aware of what vehicles are around me, if anyone seems to be following me and that kind of thing, or if I'm walking in the street, I'm try to be very aware of my surroundings because I'm always a little bit fearful of this. And especially when I see cop cars driving by or whatnot, I get this surge of anxiety that they are following me, they're looking for me. And so that can be hard to deal with. And especially when I am not taking my medications regularly, this can be a really, really difficult one to manage. And sometimes it goes as far as to be believing that there are helicopters circling overhead, and sometimes it translates into a hallucination too, where I hear and see helicopters circling overhead too that are looking for me and are working with the police or whatever to find me, arrest me, or bring me to the hospital. The next delusion that I experience really quite frequently is one that we actually did a video on, which you can check out here, my biggest delusion. And it's basically around the idea of being in a coma. And this comes up when I'm going to the washroom, because I have this irrational belief that I am actually dreaming or whatnot when I'm going to the washroom. And in reality, I am laying in a bed in a coma somewhere, peeing the bed. And it seems ridiculous. It seems silly. I think part of me knows that's irrational, but then another part of me is like, that's what they want you to believe. Like it's very much a spiral, a lot of these delusional thoughts. And so it's hard to deal with this because you're always kind of in two places at once where you're like, okay, this is what I'm experiencing now, but I really believe this other line of thought that is affecting my experience here, and it's very confusing. My next delusion is actually what is called thought broadcasting, where I think that other people can hear my thoughts. This started very early in my experience with mental illness, where I fully believed that people could hear the thoughts that I was thinking. And so, it's kind of funny because I was always very mindful of just trying to think very positive, very complimentary thoughts about people and whatnot, because I didn't want them to catch me thinking something negative about them or something not very nice, because that's not how I wanted people to perceive me or to, think of me. And so I don't know, maybe it made me a bit of a better person in terms of having more positive thoughts, but that was something that I struggled with for a long time, and something that I do still struggle with every now and then now too. The next delusion I'm going to share with you is very, very embarrassing. So sometimes I have kind of delusions of grandeur where I believe that people who are in my life or who I'm interacting with are attracted to me. And this is embarrassing because I am not a conceited person. I usually don't just automatically assume that other people are attracted to me. I don't believe I'm exceptionally good looking or anything like that to merit that kind of thought. And people don't really give me that kind of feedback to believe that. But it's just this kind of warped train of thought that I fall into sometimes where I'm like, they think I'm attractive. They are attracted to me. And I guess that kind of falls into the erotomanic delusions too, where you think that someone is infatuated with you or something. And so that can kind of play a difficult role in terms of navigating relationships with people if I think that they are secretly, lusting after me or whatever it is. Again, this is very embarrassing because I don't believe this on a regular basis, but every now and then this comes up as an issue.
I'm lusting after you, baby.
The next delusion is the somatic delusion aspect of things, where I believe sometimes that parts of my body or bodily functions or whatnot are things that only I am experiencing and that I don't believe that anyone else has or experiences. And so this kind of creates an issue in terms of shame and embarrassment when bringing things up with my doctor or with whoever might need to know, probably my doctor.
I just want to say everybody poops.
And, I think a lot of people have that kind of shame wrapped up into discussing more sensitive topics or topics that aren't generally talked about very much with their doctor, but it's just kind of amplified, where I believe that I am the only person who experiences this and it makes me odd or different in some way. A small example of this would be that I thought that my body was so irregular for a long time. I remember looking at myself in the mirror at a dance class once when I was in the leotard and tights and whatnot when I was young. And I just thought I looked like a complete alien because I thought that my body was so incredibly long and my legs were so incredibly short. And I had this kind of morphed understanding or view of my physical appearance. And so that is one of the ways that the somatic delusion kind of manifests, but it can also be in terms of internal body functions, external body functions. It's a wide range of delusional thought. The next delusion I want to talk about is kind of one that spirals out of anosognosia. Now, anosognosia is when you don't have insight into the fact that you have a mental illness or an illness. And so I kind of spiral into delusional thought around this, that I don't actually have schizophrenia. Or sometimes the delusional thinking takes the form of, I believe that I am faking having schizophrenia because I don't believe that my experience of the symptoms is really real. And I did a video explaining this more in depth, which you can check out here. My next delusion is when I make connections that really aren't correlated or aren't connected in any way with external stimuli or external occurrences. And so what I mean by this is I have some sort of thought, and then I believe that that thought precipitates some sort of action in the world. And it's not like I think I'm going to pick up, or I think I'm going to pick up that ball and I go and pick up the ball and that's the external action. It's more like I think a negative thought and then there is a hurricane somewhere, something like that, where I believe that there's a correlation between my thoughts and external occurrences. And this kind of plays out more often in terms of directly believing that I can will things to happen. So this happens a lot when we're playing board games, where I believe that I can kind of will a number to come up on a dice, or I can will something to happen in the game. And that's kind of the delusional thinking at its core, that my thoughts are somehow connected to things that are happening in the world around me when really there is no connection. My next delusion is that Rob is cheating on me. I'm just kidding. I know he's not, but there have been times where I knew he was cheating on me. And this just kind of made me really sad. It didn't make me angry or anything. I just got really, really down because it didn't matter what he said to me or what I really in my heart knew. We're so codependent. We spend all of our time together. There's no way he could be cheating on me, even if he wanted to.
I don't want to.
So, infidelity is a common delusion that people have when they are experiencing delusional thought. And so this is something that has come up for me where I, in my heart, just know without a shadow of a doubt that Rob is cheating on me. Even though when I come out of that thought, I know without a shadow of a doubt that he is not cheating on me. Thus, the extreme dilemmas of living with delusional thought. But this is just another example of a frequent delusion that people may have. And last but not least, this is probably my biggest delusion in terms of how much it permeates my life. And that is just the idea that we are living in a simulation. And I know this is nothing new. I know that this is something that a lot of people bring up as a theory and whatnot, but I think I really have a hard time with this one in terms of spiraling into this thought that we are living in a simulation, nothing is real. And I think that my illness kind of plays a role in that in terms of the constant questioning of my experience of reality and questioning kind of everyone's experience of reality, if there's a shared reality, and just questioning life kind of, and questioning our experience of life. And this idea of living in a simulation kind of helps me make sense of everything in a way.
We're all pawns.
So that's my list of my top 10 delusions. I think there was 10 there, but if you also experience some of the delusions that I've listed, or if there's other delusions that you experience frequently, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. Also, just a quick reminder that if you want to help us in creating these videos, please check out our Patreon page. Thank you so much again for watching. And as always, wishing you and your loved ones good health. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.